Does skipping breakfast make you fat? The answer is yes, because all of these anorexic people who skip breakfast are all extremely overweight. Oh, wait. No, they're not. Does skipping breakfast make you fat? You know, I find this to be one of the most annoying myths that I run into. People will tell me, oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Why? Like, tell me why it's the most important meal of the day. Just because it's the first meal? Breakfast is so fucked up. I'm going to digress for 1 minute. Breakfast is the only meal of the day where you can eat pastry, like what would normally be considered a dessert. You can eat pastry, and people consider that to be a good breakfast. I actually saw an article where they interviewed a nutritionist who said that it was better to eat donuts for breakfast than it was to eat no breakfast at all. And I looked at that, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, so get some lard blocks that have been deep fried and fat. That's healthy. That's good for you. That's better than not eating at all. I Someone should take her license away. I don't know why these people even exist. Um, do you have to eat breakfast? No, you don't have to eat breakfast. In fact, you probably won't suffer for not eating breakfast at all, because actually, if you look at the research, and that's what I stick to, is the research, because if it isn't researched and proven, then I have no, and it's just my opinion. And I try not to have an opinion. I try to interpret the data and then give you a conclusion based on that data. And so in the research that we've seen, when people eat an isocaloric diet, so meaning they are eating the same number of calories, okay? So we're not skipping breakfast and then we're gonna drop, 400 calories from our total because we're gonna eat 400 calories less. No, you're gonna eat the same number of calories. You're just gonna eat them in later meals even, and because it doesn't even have to be like breakfast. Who says breakfast has to be at 6 o'clock in the morning when you wake up? Why can't you eat breakfast at noon? What difference would it make if I suddenly said, okay, so instead of eating at 6 a.m., 12 p.m., and 6 p.m., I'm now going to eat at 12 p.m., 6 p.m., and 12 a.m.? What's the big deal? Oh, it's a shift in circadian rhythm. Our body is way more complex than some stupid clock. And honestly, you could probably choose any schedule you wanted to eat in. Intermittent fasting works fantastic, especially if you eat the same number of calories. So if you always eat 2,000 calories a day, but you space it out from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, and now suddenly you close that window off. So maybe you wake up at 6 a.m. and you wait till 2 p.m. to start eating, but then between 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. you eat the same number of calories. You'll actually see a positive shift in your body composition. You lose fat and gain muscle if you're training. I just assume that people are exercising. If you care about your diet, you're probably exercising as well. You'll see a shift in body composition where you'll lose fat and gain muscle due to the fact that you're going to have increased insulin sensitivity. So your body's going to be better at taking those carbohydrates and shuttling them to your muscles instead of to your fat cells. So, do you need to eat breakfast? The research doesn't support it. Sorry, folks. I know everyone loves to say, oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, blah, 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 blah. No, it is not. It's not all it's cracked up to be. And there's really no reason for you to eat breakfast as long as you're eating enough throughout the rest of the day. So don't undereat. The exception to the rule that I might throw out there is as far as mental performance. It seems to be that, like with kids, when they test them for like their exams, like their standardized testing and stuff like that, kids do seem to perform better if they eat breakfast, because, and let's be honest with ourselves here, okay? Your brain runs on glucose or ketones. So whenever you eat something, you're giving your brain a little more energy. So it shouldn't come as a shock to you that eating breakfast may increase your test scores. However, confounding variable, kids who eat breakfast tend to come from more upper class families. They come from a more stable family environment. The kids who aren't eating breakfast usually come from a family who's not really quite so involved in the kids' academics. And so I'll use myself as an example. My mother was Supermom. My mother is Martha Stewart. And every night, my mom would make sure that my homework was done. She actually would like quiz me, like, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? She was very, very involved. If I had vocab words or spelling words, my mom made a point to, sit down and do all my vocab words with me or all my spelling words with me. I'm talking about elementary school here, by the way. I wasn't still working on spelling. Yeah, it was. But I wasn't still working on spelling, through high school. But I'm talking elementary school here, and my mom would sit down and do my vocab words with me, and she'd do my spelling words with me, and then I had breakfast every morning too. So before I go to bed, my mom quizzes me all about my vocab and spelling words. The next morning, I get up, and while my mom's cooking breakfast, I would stand there in the kitchen, and my mom would ask me all my vocab words, and then she'd ask me all my spelling words, and then I had breakfast. So was I scoring better on the test because I had breakfast, or was I scoring better on the test because of the fact that my mother was the type of parent who's really involved and really cares, and so cooking for me was also just part of her day, and that's why I was so well fed? It's a confounding variable. I can't separate the two. I can't tell you which one was the actual factor there. Is it because I ate something in the morning, or is it because my mother took the time to quiz me? I can't separate those two variables to tell you which one was the one that had the effect. So that's something to consider when you look at that study. Maybe the kids who are eating breakfast in the morning because someone's actually taking the time to feed them, someone also is taking the time to make sure that they are doing their schoolwork. Just something to consider. But as far as body composition, markers of health, cholesterol levels, blood glucose, etc., it actually appears more likely that skipping breakfast is a healthier alternative due to the fact that it's going to provide a longer fasting window, which allows your insulin level to drop out. And when your insulin level drops down, your body goes through a lot of other processes, and it seems to be really healthy for us. So do your research, but I would say that skipping breakfast is probably a good idea.